In the heart of a small, remote Nigerian village surrounded by lush farmlands and dense forests, Amaka was born into a family that knew little but hardship. Her family struggled daily to make ends meet. Hunger gnawed at them constantly, and the holes in their clothes seemed to grow faster than they could mend them. Amaka, as a child, was full of dreams, but the reality of her situation always brought her back to the starkness of her family's poverty. Her mother worked hard in the fields, and her father often spent weeks away trying to earn extra income. As the youngest of 4 children, Amaka felt a burden that weighed heavily on her. She watched her older siblings sacrifice, going hungry so the younger ones could eat. She felt powerless to help. The poverty wasn't just a fact of life, it was a shame that seemed to cling to her family. Desperation began to fill her heart at an early age, and though she dreamed of better days, it seemed those dreams were always out of reach. One fateful day, when Amaka was no older than 10, her hunger got the better of her. She had spent the entire day working in the fields with her mother, but there was nothing to show for it. On her way back to the village, she passed through the market and saw stalls overflowing with fruit, ripe oranges, plump mangoes, and fresh yams. Something snapped inside her. Without thinking, she reached out, grabbed an orange, and stuffed it into her pocket. Her heart raced as she walked away, but no one seemed to notice. The thrill of the act overshadowed her guilt. That orange became the gateway to a habit that would define her life. At first, she stole small things, fruits, vegetables, and grains. The ease with which she could take what she wanted emboldened her, and soon, Amaka grew into a skilled thief. Her hands moved faster than the eyes around her, and no one suspected the quiet girl from the poor family to be the culprit. Her mother never knew how their meals grew a little more plentiful, and Amaka kept her secret hidden behind a facade of innocence. As Amaka grew older, her habit of stealing grew with her. It was no longer just about filling her family's stomachs. She had begun to steal things she didn't need, livestock, money, and even trinkets from people's homes. Her skill had become so honed that even the most cautious villagers fell prey to her nimble fingers. But her theft didn't go unnoticed forever. Slowly, the village began to whisper. "Did you hear about the missing goat from Isa's farm? And what about the money Auntie Ngozi had hidden in her kitchen? Gone, just like that." The villagers spoke in hushed tones, but it wasn't long before suspicion fell on Amaka. Her humble background, coupled with her increasingly brazen behavior, made her a prime suspect. Villagers started watching her closely, waiting for the moment she would slip up. They were both impressed and angered by her actions. Her family bore the brunt of the shame, and her father, especially, struggled with the weight of the rumors. It was inevitable that one day, Amaka would be caught. She had grown too confident in her abilities, too sure of her own invincibility. One fateful afternoon, as she tried to sneak into Mama Ifeoma's yard to steal a basket of yams, she was caught red-handed. Mama Ifeoma had been waiting for her. She had set a trap, having grown suspicious after losing several items over the past few weeks. As Amaka reached for the basket, strong hands grabbed her, pulling her to the ground. The entire village gathered as Amaka was dragged to the center of the marketplace. She was beaten, humiliated, and paraded before everyone. The villagers spat insults at her, calling her a disgrace, a common thief who had brought shame to her family. Amaka's mother cried, begging for mercy, but the damage was done. The pain of the public humiliation cut deeper than any physical wound. Yet, even after this, Amaka returned to her ways, trapped in a cycle she couldn't escape. After the incident at the market, Amaka's reputation was sealed. She was the village thief, and no one trusted her anymore. But then came the encounter that would change her life forever. One afternoon, after another failed attempt at stealing, Amaka slumped on a path near the river, tears of frustration burning in her eyes. As she sat there, defeated, an old woman approached her. It was Mama Nkechi, the village elder known for her wisdom. Mama Nkechi didn't scold her or yell. She simply sat next to Amaka and asked, "What are you running from, my child?" The question startled Amaka. No one had ever asked her that before. Everyone assumed she stole because she was a bad person. But Mama Nkechi saw something different in her. That simple question planted the seed of change deep in Amaka's heart. She didn't have an answer right away, but Mama Nkechi's words stayed with her. Mama Nkechi became a constant presence in Amaka's life after that day. She guided her with patience, never once judging her for her past mistakes. Instead of treating her like a criminal, she saw the intelligence and potential within her. Under Mama Nkechi's mentorship, Amaka began to learn new skills that didn't involve stealing. She learned how to weave baskets, tend to crops, and manage livestock. At first, Amaka struggled to adjust. Hard work wasn't something she had ever associated with survival, but under Mama Nkechi's watchful eye, she began to see the value in it. As she worked the land, the physical labor gave her time to think, to reflect on her past actions. Slowly, the shame and guilt that had once haunted her began to lift. Amaka started to realize that she was capable of more than just theft. She had a mind for strategy, for problem solving, and now, she was using those skills for good. As the weeks turned into months, Amaka transformed. She no longer felt the urge to steal. Instead, she found herself deeply immersed in the work that Mama Nkechi had taught her. She started to take pride in her basket weaving, often making intricate patterns that drew the admiration of other villagers. Slowly, the villagers began to see her in a new light. Though it wasn't easy, Amaka was earning back the trust she had lost. Amaka's transformation didn't just stop with her personal redemption. She started to think about the younger children in the village, especially those who, like her, came from poor families. She saw the same hunger in their eyes that had once driven her to steal. Determined to make sure they didn't follow her path, Amaka approached Mama Nkechi with an idea, a program to teach the village's youth skills in farming, weaving, and other trades. If they had the tools to succeed, they wouldn't have to turn to crime. Mama Nkechi was proud of the woman Amaka had become and supported her fully. Amaka's program for the village youth took off quickly. At first, only a few children came to her lessons, but as word spread about what she was offering, more and more young people began to join. She taught them the skills she had learned from Mama Nkechi, but more than that, she taught them about integrity, about the importance of working hard and living an honest life. The children adored Amaka. To them, she wasn't just a teacher, she was living proof that anyone could change, that anyone could rise above their circumstances. Amaka found joy in guiding them, knowing that she was helping to create a better future for the village. As the program grew, it became a central part of village life. Even the elders, who had once shunned Amaka, came to respect her for the work she was doing. The years passed, and Amaka's reputation as a thief faded into memory. She had become one of the most respected members of the village, known for her wisdom, her kindness, and her leadership. The very village that had once ridiculed and rejected her now looked to her for guidance. Amaka never forgot her roots, though. She remained humble, always remembering the struggles that had once defined her. Her journey from village thief to respected leader became a story that was passed down through the generations. The children she had taught grew up to become leaders themselves, each one carrying with them the lessons they had learned from Amaka. She had become more than just a person, she was a symbol of redemption, of the power of change, and of the resilience of the human spirit. As Amaka grew older, she realized that her life had become a testament to the fact that no one is defined by their past. Her story inspired not just the people of her village, but people from surrounding communities as well. Her name became synonymous with hope, with the belief that anyone could rise above their circumstances and become something great. Though she had once been the village thief, Amaka's redemption story now served as a symbol of perseverance, strength, and leadership. Her work with the youth created a legacy of hope that ensured her story would live on for generations to come. This transformation, from a girl driven by desperation to a woman who shaped her village's future, became a lasting example to all who heard it. No matter where one starts, they have the power to determine their destiny. Hi guys, please be sure to stay until the end of this story for a surprising twist that will leave you speechless. If you love African culture, myths, and epic storytelling, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more amazing tales. Also, don't forget to share your favorite part of today's story in the comment section below. Under Amaka's leadership, the village flourished. Her influence had permeated every corner of the community, as people who had once been consumed by gossip and distrust now found themselves working together for the common good. Amaka led efforts to improve farming methods, introducing new techniques that increased crop yields and helped families who had once struggled to feed themselves. She encouraged self-sufficiency and the importance of communal support. The village that had once been divided was now united, driven by a shared vision of prosperity and fairness. Amaka's transformation became a mirror for the village itself. Just as she had risen above her troubled past, the village had shed the corruption and poverty that had once defined it. Amaka's former reputation as a thief became less of a stain and more of a tale of resilience, a reminder that redemption was possible for anyone willing to change. Villagers now spoke of Amaka with reverence, telling her story to their children as a lesson in forgiveness, strength, and the importance of second chances. Despite the village's newfound peace, not everyone had forgotten Amaka's past. There were still a few elders who remembered the things she had stolen, the goats, the money, the trinkets, and some still bore grudges. These elders grumbled about her new role in the village, quietly wondering if someone who had once been a thief could truly be trusted. However, Amaka met these criticisms with grace. She understood their concerns and never denied her past, but instead, she openly acknowledged her mistakes. To show her commitment to the village, Amaka decided to personally visit each of the families she had wronged in her younger years. She offered apologies, and where she could, she made reparations. Some villagers welcomed her with open arms, while others remained guarded, but Amaka's humility in facing those she had wronged made a deep impact. The community watched as she went from house to house, and slowly, even the most skeptical of villagers began to soften toward her. Her actions were a powerful reminder that true leadership came not from avoiding mistakes, but from learning from them and making amends. The changes in Amaka's village did not go unnoticed by the surrounding communities. Word of her transformation and her impact on the village spread far and wide, reaching neighboring villages that struggled with similar issues of poverty and distrust. Leaders from these villages came to visit, hoping to learn from Amaka's example. She welcomed them with open arms, eager to share the lessons she had learned along her journey. Amaka's methods were simple but effective. She emphasized the importance of teaching children valuable skills, of nurturing a sense of community, and of creating opportunities for everyone to contribute. Her village became a model for others, and soon, a network of communities began to form, all following the principles that Amaka had put in place. The ripple effect of her leadership spread across the region, turning once isolated villages into a united force for good. Just as the village was thriving, a new challenge emerged that threatened to undo the progress they had made. A severe drought hit the region, and the village's crops began to fail. For the first time in years, the villagers felt the familiar pound of hunger creeping back into their lives. Fear and desperation threatened to undo the unity Amaka had worked so hard to build. Old habits and divisions began to re-emerge, as some villagers hoarded what little they had, while others worried that they would not survive the coming months. Amaka knew that this was a test, not just of the village's strength, but of her leadership as well. She called an emergency meeting with the village council and immediately set to work. Together, they devised a plan to share resources evenly, ensuring that no one family would go without food. Amaka also mobilized the youth, leading them in the construction of irrigation systems to make the most of the little water they had. It was hard work, but the villagers trusted Amaka's leadership and followed her plan without hesitation. The drought stretched on for months, testing the village's resolve. Every day was a struggle, but Amaka's careful planning and the community's commitment to working together helped them survive. The irrigation systems they had built allowed them to salvage what little water remained, and their shared food stores ensured that no one went hungry. Amaka's tireless efforts did not go unnoticed, and even those who had once doubted her leadership now looked to her with admiration. In the midst of the drought, something unexpected happened. Neighboring villages that had not prepared as well began to suffer, and many of their people came to Amaka's village seeking help. Though they had little to spare, Amaka welcomed them, knowing that their survival depended on unity. She opened the village's gates and shared their remaining resources with those in need. It was a risk, but one that paid off. The villagers realized that true strength lay not in hoarding, but in sharing, and together, they were able to survive the drought. Just as the drought seemed to be at its worst, an unexpected ally arrived in the village, Obinna, a wealthy merchant from a nearby town who had heard of Amaka's efforts. Obinna was impressed by the resilience of the village and Amaka's leadership. He offered his assistance, bringing much-needed supplies to help the villagers through the final stretch of the drought. Obinna's supplies were a lifeline for the village, and as the drought finally began to ease, Amaka and Obinna worked together to rebuild the village's economy. Obinna, impressed by Amaka's vision and leadership, agreed to invest in the village, helping to create new opportunities for trade and commerce. Under Amaka's guidance, the village entered a new era of prosperity, and the bonds they had formed with Obinna's town ensured that they would never face such hardships alone again. The drought had tested the village in ways they had never imagined, but it had also brought them closer together. Amaka's leadership had proven that even in the face of adversity, a community could thrive if its people worked together. The village emerged from the drought stronger than ever, with a renewed sense of unity and purpose. Amaka's role as a leader was solidified, and the villagers no longer saw her as the girl who had once been a thief. She was their guide, their protector, and their source of hope. The young people in the village, many of whom had grown up under Amaka's mentorship, were now stepping into leadership roles of their own. Amaka's teachings had taken root in their hearts, and they were determined to carry on her legacy of resilience and compassion. The village was thriving, not just because of Amaka's efforts, but because she had empowered the next generation to lead with the same integrity and vision that had guided her. As the village continued to grow and prosper, Amaka found herself reflecting on her journey. She had come so far from the days when she was known only as the village thief, and yet, she never forgot where she had started. Her experiences had shaped her into the leader she was, and she knew that her past had been an important part of her story. Amaka had learned that true leadership wasn't about being perfect, it was about being willing to change, to grow, and to lead others on that same journey. Amaka's heart swelled with pride as she watched the young people she had mentored take on more responsibilities in the village. They were the future, and she knew that they would carry on the values she had worked so hard to instill. As Amaka looked out over the fields, now lush with new crops, she smiled. The village had survived its darkest days, and she knew that it would continue to thrive long after she was gone. To celebrate the village's survival and the end of the drought, Amaka and the village council organized a festival of gratitude. It was a time for the villagers to come together and give thanks for all they had overcome. The festival was filled with music, dancing, and feasting, and the people of the village celebrated not only their survival but the strength and unity that had carried them through. As the festival reached its peak, Amaka was honored by the village elders for her leadership and dedication to the community. They presented her with a handcrafted staff, a symbol of her role as the village's protector and guide. Amaka accepted the honor with humility, knowing that the true strength of the village lay in the people who had come together to support one another. The festival marked a new chapter in the village's story, one of hope, resilience, and unity. With the festival of gratitude behind them, Amaka and the village looked to the future with optimism. The challenges they had faced had only made them stronger, and they were now better prepared to face whatever came their way. Amaka continued to mentor the younger generation, teaching them the values of hard work, honesty, and compassion. She knew that they were the future leaders of the village, and she wanted to ensure that they were ready to carry on the legacy she had built. As the village thrived, Amaka looked to the future. She was filled with hope and pride. The village that had once shamed and rejected her was now united and prosperous under her leadership. She had transformed not only herself but the entire community. Her life was a testament to the idea that no matter where you come from, you have the power to shape your own destiny. Amaka's role in the village was far from over. With the younger generation stepping into leadership roles, she focused on ensuring that they carried forward the lessons of the past. She taught them that leadership was not about power but about service to the people. Every decision, every action, should be made with the community in mind. Now more than ever, the village's success was proof that resilience, compassion, and unity could overcome even the darkest of challenges. Amaka's story of redemption became a beacon of hope, not just for her village but for the surrounding communities that looked to her for guidance and inspiration. As time passed, the people of the village would continue to celebrate her as the one who turned their fortunes around, a thief who became a leader, a woman who transformed her life and her world. And long after she was gone, the story of Amaka's journey from shame to redemption would live on, a reminder that anyone can rise from their circumstances and achieve greatness.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing tales. Join our growing community by subscribing and sharing your favorite part of today's story in the comments.